Welcome to Never Shut Up. I'm your host, Marcellus Wiley, on this holiday Monday. And I told you guys in this house, it's double duty when it's a holiday out here, obviously. Kids going to private school, they never go to school because you're paying for it, right? So they're out more than the public school kids. And then you add a holiday on top of it. Let's just say I am sweating, and hopefully the camera is a little out of focus so you don't see how much my kids are wearing my ass out right now on this beautiful holiday Monday. But I have to be excused for this entire show. You guys can hear it. You know, I'm always going to keep it real with y'all. I got Coach's voice. And if you don't know what Coach's voice is, it's Doc Rivers right now. Come on, baby. You know what I'm talking about. And that's how I was all weekend long, coaching my son's basketball team. We won that game. Coaching his football team. We had our first loss, a battle of the undefeateds, a 5-0 Giants team versus my 5-0 Bills. My son got hurt in the third quarter, early in the third quarter, diving for a flag, got kicked in the head, like his third injury of the game, right? He was really hurting. This was probably his worst game, and he still scored 2 touchdowns and looked amazing, but he just kept getting hurt. So once he went out the game, 7-year-olds kind of get it. They like, oh, MJ's hurt. Oh, that's how we usually score. Okay, coach, who we play next week? And I was like trying to get these kids locked in, and they couldn't lock in. All good, but that's where my voice went, trying to coach up them kids. All that said, I got to get started with what happened this weekend, because all of you guys weren't consumed with coaching and losing your voice. You guys are watching the NBA All-Star Weekend. So let's have a little NBA All-Star rewind. But first, a little birdie is in my ear, guys, telling me that, you see that chair right there? You see that Chip City, Clippers chair right there? That Russell Westbrook will be sitting in that chair. Yes, Russell Westbrook to the Clippers. That's what I'm hearing. You guys know it. It's happening. It's Chip City 2023. We're getting over that hump. Phoenix is obviously looking poised for that. Golden State Warriors still the champions, but the Clippers, not only top loaded, but also the deepest team in the league. I digress. Let's talk All-Stars right now. Oh, man. The first question is, did you guys enjoy it? I did not. Now, why didn't I? It's for the same reasons I don't enjoy the Pro Bowl. So I can ask you guys 2 questions, and it's really only one question. What's better, the NBA All-Star Game or the Pro Bowl? But the real question is, what's worse, the All-Star Game or the Pro Bowl? They both suck. Oh, you don't believe me? Coach Mike Malone has some comments about the NBA All-Star Game, and I quote, "It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be part of a great weekend, great players, but that is the worst basketball game ever played," end quote. That's what he said after the game. And he's not lying. What was the final score? Like Team Giannis, 184, Team LeBron, 175. And there's so many layers to this, so let's just go through it rapid fire. First of all, you know the game is a farce. You know the game is wrong when the last pick of the draft is Nikola Jokic, who may be the MVP again this year, who was the MVP last year, who was the MVP the year before. He may win 3 MVPs in a row, and he's the last pick of this damn draft. It's just hilarious to watch this because he even said it. Look, I wouldn't draft myself either. I'm not meant for this game, this All-Star game. And that's what we were watching. My son was watching it with me, and he was just like in and out in terms of his focus and his attention. But there were some highlights. Let's just be real. The stars were in the building. LeBron was playing. He had his finger, he had the hurt finger. You saw him try to go up towards the rim, block a shot, end up getting caught in the net and the rim. Had to obviously be mindful of that. Someone made the joke about LeBron finally losing an All-Star game. He said, damn, how you going to be better than Jordan? You can't even go 6-0 in the All-Star game as Jordan went 6-0 in NBA Finals with no Game 7. I thought that was a funny joke. But watching those guys go out there, just watching the Giraffes dunk, watching them shoot from the parking lot, it is fun to watch. But it's not basketball, so they find themselves in the same position as the Pro Bowl. Like, how much do we let this really damage the pure brand of what basketball looks like? Because when you watch this, you're like, this is not even a pickup game. This is not even just friends just say, hey, let's go in the backyard and shoot around. It's like some hybrid of something that we're not familiar with. And let's just be real, not the most engaging thing to watch. So all that said, it looks like LeBron James finally losing the All-Star game, maybe passing that torch in terms of face of the league. We know there's a lot of guys out there. Giannis is out there. Jokic is trying to be it. Luka's out there. But what about my man, Jason Tatum? Woo! I am not envious or jealous of anybody. Look, I do get inspired by people. And Jason Tatum, wouldn't that be a nice life to live? Like, Jason Tatum, be real, as manly as you are, it's a good-looking dude, right? I've seen him out a few times. I know he's a winner. Winning. Girls can't get away from him. They're like, oh, my God, I love Jason Tatum. He balls out of control, sets an all-star game record with 55 points, and always got little man by his side, man. It looked like he's really living a life, and soon maybe getting the torch pass from LeBron James in terms of consideration for the face of the league. Dropped 55, double nickels, all that great, but we know what the story was about this weekend. And I heard it come up again, and we ain't talking about Woody Harrelson. White men can't jump, everybody was saying, right? Remember that? Big time stereotype. We all know what we saw from my man Mac McClung, and his reputation preceded him. Like, if you've been following this guy since high school, only 6'2". And I say only because when you get there and look at the rim and it's 10 feet, you realize that 6'2", you got a lot of jumping to do, right? Now, he's not Muggsy Bogues, but still he has a lot of jumping to do, to the tune of his vertical jump. 43.5 inches is 7th all time in NBA history. So the dude got sick next level hops and displayed them. What, 3 of his 4 dunks went for 50? Like 53 of them? And the dunks, you can't even appreciate them until you see them in slow-mo, because then you see all the micro movements he was making. He wasn't just doing, I don't even know what was that, a 540 and windmill with it, but he in the air and the hang time was just doing so much with the basketball. Like, Vince Carter is by himself. There's not a Mount Rushmore. Like, you want to say Vince Carter, Dominique Wilkins, obviously Michael Jordan, and then want to throw someone else in there. Really, it's Vince Carter and then everyone else. But Mac McClung, he might be fighting for that top 5 spot along with Aaron Gordon and my man Zach LaVine, because those dunks were insane. All in all, it was a great weekend for those who love the NBA, because they got to see their stars shine. The game sucks. We all get it. It's just going to be the way it is, because no one is trying to go to work when they don't have to work. And for basketball players, that is work. So all that said, man, I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend, enjoyed watching those All-Star games. I look forward to them making some alterations to getting things straight. Speaking of alterations, our next topic is Jalen Rose saying you got to spend to get your hair lined up and get your fade on. We're going to talk through barbershop culture. And is it still a thing, or is it a thing of the past? All that and more next on Never Shut Up on Brinks TV and Reach TV. Matter of fact, I don't need nothing. I'm good, bro. I'm good. Welcome back to Never Shut Up. Marcellus, Wiley here, looking clean, looking crispy. And because of the Dollar Shave Club, $1 Shave Club, it's really not $1, but hey, great branding, great marketing. I am going to take issue with this story right here with my boy Jalen Rose, who made some headlines by talking about how much it should cost everyone who gets a quality haircut. And I was mind blown by this, because obviously I haven't been to a barbershop in decades, because what's the point? I can just hit the Dollar Shave Club right here, little this, little that, and I'm out of there in 7 minutes fast. But Jalen Rose disagrees with my style. He says, quote, the minimum you're supposed to be spending for a quality barber is $100. Now, I don't know if barbers across America, across the world, have a union. But if they're looking for a union leader, a union president, they just found a man who's going to help them get their dough. $100? Hell no. Because you know why? Let's just start here. Your hair grows back. So $100 sounds great. It sounds like my wife when she goes out shopping. I'm like, baby, what'd you just buy? Oh, it was only $30. And I'm like, yeah, but you keep going everywhere and spending $30. That's a lot of money, right? You go to the barbershop once for $100? Yeah, sign me up. But I got to come back next Friday or look a mess in 2 weeks and then come back in 2 weeks. And then that's $200 a month. And I don't even look crispy every week because that off week, boy, I see y'all trying to cut costs, not trying to spend that $100. Y'all better not go to the club that weekend because it looks hilarious when a guy got that super crispy edge up and then all of a sudden his shoreline starts to bleed, right? It starts to leak. You start seeing the waves crash right on his head. You're like, tighten up, brother. And he like, no, I'm actually tightening up my wallet. I'm tightening up my belt strap. I'm not trying to spend $100 every week. Now, the barbershop, we all know, is more than just getting your hair cut, right? It was a place where everybody would meet up in the neighborhood, no matter what neighborhood, whether you were in the inner city, the barbershop, or you were in the burbs at the salon, wherever in the hell you were, you went to the barbershop not just to get the fade. You went there because you know you're going to be around so many different types of people and they're going to express their opinions, right? I think the barbershop used to be our group text before we had social media and phones, right? Before we had a mobile phone, we just go to the barbershop and catch up on all the local news, right? You heard what happened to the TT and them? You're like, what? What happened to TT and them? And sitting there and spending half your damn Friday or Saturday just getting the lineup. And I remember vividly finally leaving the barbershop and feeling kind of like, damn, I'm kind of missing out on those conversations. But I'm certainly gaining back my time because one thing I hated all the time about the barbershop was like, who is the assistant in here? Where is your secretary? I know you're not supposed to say that anymore, but damn it, to me, I say it with pride. Where's the person that's going to help put this lineup in order? Who is setting the calendar? Because I got a 4:30. I'm here at 4:30. Why you got a line of 7 people already waiting on my 4:30 time? And they say, oh man, just sit down, young man. Sit down, whippersnapper, and just enjoy. And you sit there, and then you sitting there like, damn, this is just the way it is. But that's not the way it is now because these guys are getting the big bucks. They are going out there and saying, sign up on the app. App? Barbershop have apps? Yes, Barbershop have the app. You sign up on the app and they still gonna be behind schedule, but they trying A for effort, right? And it's all just because we really, let's be real, are trying to just tap into the barbershop culture. We all like to go there because it still feels unfiltered. You got the OG, you got the old man, you got the youngster in there, and you got the dad who took his kid for the first time. And it just feels like this extended family, everybody just breaking it down. I get it, but damn, it costs $100. It takes up all my day. Like, I'd rather golf. Like, golf is cheaper sometimes, depends on if you remember. Golf is cheaper, and it don't even take up your whole day like a barbershop does and getting your hair cut. So I'm just looking at the culture as it's shifted now. Because if you go to a barbershop now, tell me if I'm wrong. A lot of people on their phone. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's like an in and out kind of service now because nobody wants to waste their entire day, all their time in there. I wonder how the barbershop culture really is living right now compared to what it used to be. We remember watching the movies with Cedric Entertainer and all that, Ice Cube. Yeah, things look like they have changed. And now maybe they're going to get a plug, going to get a little surge from Jalen Rose because Jalen represents well. However, to what level will you commit to looking that fresh? And to what cost? $100? I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, I'm not lying to y'all. I used to have a Big Daddy Kane curly top because that was the style. It's 1990, right? And Big Daddy Kane, you know, super love of my brother, scrap love of my other, you know, dark skin Casanova, he was calling himself, Blackula, all that stuff, right? So he was making it cool for brothers like me to look fresh. And I was like, ooh, let me go all the way with this Big Daddy Kane stuff. Maybe a girl will squint or blink and not know I ain't Big Daddy Kane, but think I am. I don't know. Let me ride his wave. So I had the nice, fresh, curly top. And then they had to put that treatment in there, that burning conch, they call it. That thing get in there and sizzle your scalp. Next thing you know, you got curls. You were like, damn, I ain't had curls last week, but now I got the curls, right? Girlie's looking at me. My smooth skin, I'm fresh, right? Had to go get the edge up, that's it. Then one day I was at school, played a prank on my boy maybe a few weeks earlier, named Marvin Williams. Oh, sucker. Next thing I know, I'm sitting there at lunchtime getting the fade. All right, get me right. You know, Big Daddy Kane is here. And all of a sudden, I just felt the clippers in a place they shouldn't be. And no, I ain't talking about nothing nasty. I'm talking about right down the middle, right? Dude turned into a fullback. 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? I was like, and I knew it immediately, and I knew immediately I couldn't even be mad because I had got him earlier. And I was like, what? Just ran to the bathroom, checked the mirror, and I had a freeway right here, right? And then I was like sitting there with the two dividers and the freeway. What am I to do? I said, cut it off, dog, cut it off. Cut it off, went to the next class with that white head. You know, first time you ever get a bald head, it is pure white as snow. I mean, it looked like some ski alps. And I was the one in there, dandruff everywhere, looking a mess. And one girl looked at me, she did squint. She did kind of look at me and take a double take, say, oh, I like you bald-headed, you look cute. And immediately I went from Big Daddy Kane to Michael Jordan. I was like, all right, I can do this, I can work this out. And that was a blessing in disguise. Not only did it help me with the ladies, because you know Big Daddy Kane was the man, but Jordan was next, but also it saved me. According to Jalen Rose, you go back 1990, $100, do the math, it saved me millions of dollars, right? All that said, man, it was a fun topic to have. I feel you, Jalen. Hey, you get what you pay for, and you look fresh, so I get why you pay so much. Well, coming up on Never Shut Up, it's time to get into a different topic, different energy. Amidst backlash, Chris Brown is firing back at his critics, and he is using race as a weapon. Let's talk through that. All that and more next on Never Shut Up on Brinks TV and Reach TV. Waka, waka. Welcome back to Never Shut Up. Your boy Marcellus Wiley here, and we got to dive into this one right now. Chris Brown's been in the news a lot lately, right? We all know what happened with him at the Grammys and him firing back at not winning all the Grammys he anticipated winning. I'm not going to dive into that story because I think this story has a little more meat on it right now. Chris Brown is name dropping white celebrities, specifically white celebrities, who have been accused of domestic violence, as we know that he had his incident with Rihanna, and obviously in 2009, since then, we've been talking about Chris Brown in that light, no matter what other things and other endeavors he partakes on. So right now, he's in the news because Chris Brown is coming out with a song with Chloe Bailey, and Chloe Bailey felt the bum rush. She felt all of the heat and backlash. And in response to that, Chris Brown trying to take up for her and trying to provide protection for her, this story comes to light. He name drops Ozzy Osbourne, Charlie Sheen, and Mel Gibson as entertainers who've been accused of being violent with women. Osbourne publicly admitted to choking his wife, Sharon Osbourne, in 1989. Yes, way back, Public Enemy time. 1989. And Charlie Sheen pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault for an incident involving his ex-wife in 2009. Same year as Chris Brown and Rihanna, right? And Mel Gibson pled no contest to battery against his ex in 2011. Right. What is going on here right now? Chris Brown is like saying, hey, there's a lot of hypocrisy out there in terms of how he's feeling and how he's hearing his name still front page news with an incident that others who've been accused or guilty of the same thing are also now being hidden from plain sight. What is this? Is this just strictly by race? Part of it can be. Let's talk about that part. 3 white guys that you don't hear this about. But what are the reasons before we just go lazily and say it's about complexion? Well, one, if you talk about their spouses, nobody else is as famous. Maybe you could say Sharon Osbourne, but we're talking about 1989. But in the moment, 2009 to now, as Rihanna to Chris Brown. I think in Q rating and power couple, that's the highest you would rank it, right? That's the highest ranking in terms of a couple in fandom, in stardom. All right, that's part of it. What's another part of it? Well, Chris Brown, you really are still popping. Like, people still clamor to you. And every time someone clamors to you, there's going to be that pushback from those that you have polarized, those that you have not made fans of yours because of this incident, right? Whoever they may be. Michael Jackson dealt with this, obviously, in speculation of what he went through. The same thing happened with Kobe Bryant. You could talk about that. And when you are still in the limelight to that intensity, what comes with it is intense scrutiny. Like, that is the cost of praise. Now, you look at it beyond that, there is some whataboutism going on there, as it should, right? Chris Brown's like, look, 3 white dudes do the same thing, if not worse, who knows? But I'm here constantly hearing about it. Well, there's another layer to that as well, whereas you don't know what those other 3 are hearing about themselves all the time as well. But I will agree with you, Chris, it's not front page news, in part because they don't make the news to the same level and degree as you do. So is it race? Partly it is. Partly it is. But why is it race? Well, Chris Brown, and being a young black guy who does this publicly for the whole world to see, where everyone else is talking about admission. Everyone else is talking about something that was done in private that they all of a sudden blew up into a public scandal. Whereas Chris Brown's, like, that night, I can still vividly remember. Like, you could get some of the images from where they were that night when they pulled over. And then the images of Rihanna's face instantly, like, it was just more scandalous, regardless of degree of guilt and degree of incident. We all walk through those steps in real time. So the racial component comes in too, because it really does play into what a stereotype is of a young black male. Let's be real about it. That stereotype is that they're violent, right? And if you play into a stereotype, they're going to beat the drum louder. Or if you defy a stereotype, then they're going to also sit there and try to beat the drum. So in this situation, why is it so loud to Chris Brown? Because you're Chris Brown. You hear it all. We get pieces of it. Why is it loud to Chris Brown? Because you actually are still on top. Why is it loud to Chris Brown? Because no matter who you partner with, especially a woman, they're going to come at her like, how could you do this? You know his history. And they're going to come at you because they're going to remind us of your history. I wouldn't put this in priority race, but certainly I think there is a slice of this, largely because there are stereotypes that exist. And when you play into those simple hands that are there, these are the consequences of it. Well, coming up on Brinks TV is full episode. You thought that was raw? You thought that was weird? Well, unfortunately, we have to talk about a family tragedy, something that's going to be painful to talk to, but we will discuss it next on Never Shut Up on Brinks TV, and thanks for watching us on Reach TV. Welcome back to Never Shut Up. Marcellus, Wiley here with a story that is going to really hit you right in the heart. I'm just going to have to read this literally before we get into it and unpack it, but whew, a 3-year-old A 3-year-old fatally shoots himself. According to NBC News, a 3-year-old fatally shot himself after finding a handgun in a nightstand in his parents' room. Here's a deputy who was quoted as saying, "For some reason, I don't know that reason, and I don't know if we'll ever know that reason, the 3-year-old wandered in the bedroom and wandered into the end table. And when he got into the end table, he picked the gun out, turned it toward himself, and shot himself point blank range." Woo! What a tragedy. Talking about dead on tragedy affecting all. Not only a 3-year-old loses his life, but the family. And obviously, this family is going to be devastated forevermore because of this tragedy. And obviously, the conversation about responsibility. Let's talk through it. The parents were not home at the time. The toddler was being watched by his 16-year-old sibling. Whew. The father is a correctional officer, stated that there was a safe for the weapon, but it stopped working. So he stored the gun in the nightstand. And the parents haven't been arrested or charged at this time as of yet. So many things, so many layers here. Obviously, huge conversation in our country. It seems like always ongoing about guns and the access to guns, right? And I can hear people right now who are anti-gun or who really want to say the guns are the issue, pointing to this case right here. No gun in the home, no death, right? And obviously that is true. If there wasn't a gun in that home at all, this wouldn't occur. But if there wasn't a gun in this home also, who knows what they would have had in terms of their own security? Who knows if they ever had to protect themselves, to defend themselves? And the father is a correctional officer, so maybe this is job issued. But no gun in the home, no incident. I give you that. But there was a gun in the home. So with the gun in the home, the responsibility is no longer, or the blame no longer on the metal object, no longer on that inanimate object. It is unfortunately, in this case, on the individuals. Let's start with the father, who knew that the safe was not properly working. And I don't know when that occurred. I don't want to speculate, I don't. But it happened before they were out of the home with a 3-year-old in the home, being watched by another minor. 16, I get it. When I was 16, I was watching myself. I'm not trying to say the age is the issue, but at the same time, a 16-year-old who, let's say, may be preoccupied with more than just watching his little brother or her little brother, is not going to be as mindful. And you're not being mindful because you have a gun in the home, in your bedroom, with an exploring, wandering, adventurous toddler. So this is how this issue always gets conflated. And frankly, why this issue a lot of times is polarizing and becomes stagnant in terms of progress, is because you can easily jump on one side and say, no gun, no issue, no incident, no death. But then you can jump on the other side, like you're going to blame the gun. The gun was just sitting in the nightstand. Where's the responsibility? Where's the protection? Where's the security? Take advantage of the safe. Be responsible as parents. And in this case, it almost feels like victim blaming, because the parents are victims too, even though they're still alive. And the parents are going to feel this heaviness on their heart forever because they know they had something in terms of being a part responsible for this death. Whether you want to say fully, no, they didn't pull the trigger, but they put a loaded gun in a place where a toddler could access it. I mean, you're talking about being in that position. Imagine you're that parent. I don't want to imagine that, but could you imagine that? Let's talk about who I think is going to be most devastated. The survivor's remorse of that 16-year-old. 16 years old, maybe just on your phone, maybe you're in a different room, wherever, maybe just watching television, and you hear a shot. The proximity to that shot is not next door. It's not the neighborhood. It's in your own home, in your parents' bedroom, and your parents aren't home. That's why this issue is so real. Obviously, we know about the mass shootings. We know about the school shootings. We know about the shootings that steal the headlines. And I'm not so sure if this one's going to be major headline news, but it really hit me in the heart for a few reasons. But the first one is it takes me back to my childhood where my grandmother tells the story. I lost my uncle when I was like 8, 9 years old. He goes around the corner and takes his life. And when he took his life, my grandmother heard the shot and just thought, okay, someone's shooting in the neighborhood. Being frank with you guys, we lived in Compton, and let's just say it was not just a daily occurrence, but it happened. You know, when you heard a gunshot, unfortunately, we got desensitized to it to the point where it wasn't always terrifying. So she thought nothing of it. Someone got shot, single shot. Then there was a knock at the door. Then there was a beating at the door. And it was frantic because she had to go around the corner to find her son fatally shot himself. Different circumstances, but it connected to me in terms of having to live through that trauma, and not just the result of that trauma, not just the death, the finality of it, but the actual experience to hear that gunshot. This 16-year-old heard that gunshot. My grandmother heard that gunshot. And then the imagery that comes from that. This is not the movies. This is real life. And the real life was lost. The 16-year-old is going to be haunted by this. And what this is doing is all, when you hear this story, is tugging at your emotions, right? Tugging at your heartstrings to make change. And I think the change really has to be a balanced change. It has to be a change in the middle. It has to be, okay, we got to limit the access to guns, obviously, because of background checks. We got to limit the access to guns based on age, based on record, criminality, etc., all those things. But also, for those who own guns, we have to make sure that they are properly trained, responsible, licensed. We always give that comparison of when you get a driver's license, it comes from driver's education, driver's training, and also renewing of your registration, renewal of your license, right? A constant process. Guns don't seem like they're mirroring that to the exact detail that they should. If so, then situations like this could be avoided. A correctional officer, someone who is trained, someone who is educated, but not as fully responsible as they should be in this moment. What a sad state of affairs we are in right now, where this is the result. And then what comes from this in consequence isn't necessarily legislation or a better tomorrow to help ensure situations like this don't occur. I tell you guys all the time, I am committing some of my resources and full focus to Argo, which is an alliance to responsible gun ownership. And going forward, we're going to attack this head on because I had to grow up with too much gun trauma. I had to navigate and use too much of my brain matter just to navigate around guns in that experience. And now it has no borders. It's not just inner city. It's not just bad guys doing it to bad guys. Oh, it bleeds to all of us. And unfortunately, even to those who are not conscious of what they're handling, a weapon, a 3-year-old. All right, guys, let's switch gears right now and give you a Wileyism, hopefully lift your spirits as well. This Wileyism hit me a few years ago because as I used to debate on topics, sports topics on the debate shows, I used to leave those shows and kind of feel a certain way. Like I would feel like I'm getting attacked by an audience because I didn't say the Jets were going to win. Then I would feel all pumped up from the Patriots because I said they were going to win, right? And I was like, why am I in this tug of war? I just gave my opinion, and it is not fact-based, right? I'm predicting. I don't know, right? And here's the Wileyism. You don't disagree with me. You just agree with you. And that helped me so much, I can't lie, because I was like, why are these people so mean when I don't agree with them? And I was, oh, you don't disagree with me, you just agree with you. And I can feel the same way. Like, oh, you know what? Instead of me always attacking, always on offense, or feeling like I'm always on the defense, just know how the game is really being played, because we're all stars in our own head, right? I don't disagree with me. Just don't agree with you. It's just that simple. And I was like, yes, that's how it goes. And now I see it with clarity, right? I see people coming at me all the time, and I'm like, this is not a personal issue, really. Like, you're using me as the punching bag, but really, you're just trying to work out your own thoughts out loud in front of me. And that's what Twitter is as well. Like, you kind of understand how this game goes. So you don't disagree with me. You just agree with you. Thank you guys for watching Monday's holiday episode of Never Shut Up. Oh, you know us. We'll be back tomorrow, because tomorrow is actually a real day, a work day, right? And hopefully I'll have some peace and quiet. These kids will be upstairs. Appreciate you guys for checking in on Never Shut Up. See y'all tomorrow. All right.